I've got a product which I think is pretty amazing. It's called OBehave. The technology behind it is really derived from an understanding and a new model that I've developed called supersymmetry inversion. This model provides me the understanding of how the universe works. And I'm using that and those principles to develop therapeutic products for people that they can try. Um, I haven't done widespread clinical evaluation, except this is food used topically to provide high energy, short lived electrons to allow really transformational healing and well being. When you see what the product can do and how it changes structure depending on frequency of energy, you can start to get an idea of, well, these are the properties that the subconscious mind also has. The ability to see and respond and change shape and geometry in order to provide insight. And when you realize that the human retina actually, or the anatomy, provides the context that we're looking within ourselves, not external to ourselves at all, then all is within, then it's quite a big paradigm shift in the way that one has to operate in this world. So the challenge is, well, what is mine and what is not? And the challenge is, how do I make a world that I want to live in, considering the complexities of the world around us and what we need to do to survive? So they are all our challenges, really, that we need to face together as humanity at this time when things are changing very quickly. I think we need to, in a way, slow down to speed up. We need to realize that the subconscious mind is providing us so much more information that when we gain access to it, when you have developed the skill set necessary to access your subconscious, to no longer be afraid of things that kind of take you away from that, to stop you from going there because you have so much pain or you've had experienced a lot of trauma. When you get to work through those processes and actually get to the point of connecting back into your subconscious state of being, that creative part of you that is allowed to be open and free, that is a very beautiful place to be, and a place which my product has helped me get to. Why? Because it's the biochemistry that the product is doing is stimulating the biochemistry of my subconscious. So that provides the conscious mind the ability to connect back into the subconscious, and has helped me do the healing work that I've needed to do in order to overcome some of my, I guess, emotional baggage from childhood. So I hope my product will be able to help with your own mental health and well-being issues that you potentially could have. For me, it was really my mother's suicide when I was 11 that caused such a major rip in my heart. And, it's taken a long time to heal that wound. I would also just like to say that it doesn't happen straight away. It's a bit of a journey. For me, it was 36 years before I could really open up about that. And she was 36. So there's this symmetry within my own story and my own journey, which allowed me to perceive and understand what was going on. To give you some kind of further details and insight, the Planck length, which is the smallest thing that physicists identified as 1.6 times 10 to the negative 35 of a meter. So that's the distance in that an electron has traveled from the Bose-Einstein condensate of helium after 13.8 billion light years. So the inverse square law of the Planck length provides, if you square root that, then you actually get 4 times 10 to the negative 18 of a meter as the distance of the diameter of an electron. So now we can start to use universal numbers for Planck lengths, electrons, and really look at distance as a way of determining mass, a way of determining strength of interaction. And if we keep utilizing the Planck length as the length unit that we want to understand everything by, then the inverse square law relationship associated that gives you the connection of the distance that light has traveled after 13.8 billion light years as the alpha particle from the Bose-Einstein condensate. So when you start to use those kind of numbers and see the inverse square law relationship from the beginning of time, then you are able to comprehend prior to time. And physics says all time's happening all the time. So then we understand, well, the emission of alpha particles may still be responsible for the expansion of the universe now, and that Hubble constant. And it would also be responsible for, the decay of the alpha particle and the generation of matter. So there's a lot of information that came from the supersymmetry inversion model, and the experience that I had, which was pretty overwhelming for both me and the people around me at the time when I came up with the model back in 2013, through kind of connection of oneness between Einstein and kind of the perception of an inner reality of light, which I have come to terms with from the perspective of seeing the Lyman lines, transition lines in hydrogen, and how that was stimulated was through this kind of Fenton biochemistry that's happening in our subconscious minds. So I think the transition lines of hydrogen give us an atomic resolution insight within that conscious reality. Well, at least in the subconscious reality, with our conscious reality being quite limited, and the perception is really, I guess, limited to those kind of wavelengths of light that we consider to be light. But the geometry of the transitions of the electron within hydrogen allows you to perceive not only the Balmer lines, which is in the visible wavelength, but the Lyman lines, which is in the UV, and the Paschen lines, which is more in the infrared.